What is the sign that the 70th week has started? The time of tribulation, known as Jacob's trouble or Daniel's 70th week, will begin when the man of sin or the antichrist is revealed. Only those who are prayed up and watching will know and understand the timing.
2 Thessalonians 2 verses 2-4. Not to be soon shaken in mind or troubled, either by spirit or by word or by letter, as if from us, as though the day of Christ had come. Let no one deceive you by any means, for that day will not come unless the falling away comes first, and the man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he sits as God in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God.
I can only use America as an example, but since 1950, there has been a mass falling away from God. America has taken God out of everything and restricted him to a few small buildings where fewer and fewer people attend to listen to what the Spirit is saying to the churches. Bishop T.W. Barnes prophesied before his death that God was moving along in a straight line now, but the day was coming when he would make a turn and only those who were paying attention would realize and turn with him. Those who did not turn would go along having good church and God would not reach out to them again to bring them to truth. They will be among those at the throne when Jesus says, "I never knew you." Jesus never had a close personal relationship with them because they were too focused on their own desires, on building crowds, on pleasing people, and on making a name for themselves. In 2017, that prophecy of "Thus said the Lord" turning time came to pass, and God made a sharp turn. Those who were watching with their lamps full of oil paid attention and turned to follow. These will be end-time warriors and witnesses in these last days. These will be given more power and authority to do the will and the work of God because they truly understand what God's will is and do not seek selfishly to do their own.
Revelation 11 verses 1-3. Then I was given a reed like a measuring rod. And the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of God, the altar, and those who worship there. But leave out the court which is outside the temple, and do not measure it, for it has been given to the Gentiles. And they will tread the holy city underfoot for 42 months. And I will give power to my 2 witnesses, and they will prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth.
As explained in chapter 1, I personally believe the 2 witnesses will be the church and the Messianic Jews. Again, as stated, you don't have to agree with me, but search the Bible and see what God will show you. The 2 witnesses will be given great power for 3.5 years. 1,260 days and 42 months both equal 3.5 years. The Antichrist is known by many names in the Bible. Through Daniel and Revelation, he is called the man of sin or the beast. Daniel says the last Antichrist will come to power speaking great things.
Daniel 7 verse 8. I was considering the horns, and there was another horn, a little one, coming up among them, before whom 3 of the first horns were plucked out by the roots. And there, in this horn, were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking pompous words.
There are 5 covenants that God made with the children of Israel. The Abrahamic, the land, the Davidic, and the New Covenant are all unconditional covenants that God will bring to pass no matter what the children of Israel did in the past or in the future. The Abrahamic, Genesis 12 verses 1-7. A land, Genesis 13 verses 14-17, Deuteronomy 29 verses 1-30. 20. To Davidic, 2 Samuel 7 verses 1-17. A New Covenant, Jeremiah 31, 31-37. A Mosaic, Exodus 19 verses 5-9. These covenants are a part of God's full plan of salvation for the earth that was designed before he created the foundations of the earth.
Matthew 25 verse 34. Then the king will say to those on his right hand, Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world.
The Mosaic covenant was not one of salvation. This covenant was conditional on the obedience of Israel to God's commandments. They would be cursed for not obeying God, but if and when they did obey, it would distinctly mark the children of Israel as a special kingdom of priests and a holy nation, different from all others. It would also establish Israel in the land of their fathers, and no one could ever take that land from them again.
Deuteronomy 30 verse 5. Then the Lord your God will bring you to the land which your fathers possessed, and you shall possess it. He will prosper you and multiply you more than your fathers. Deuteronomy 30 verse 20. That you may love the Lord your God, that you may obey his voice, and that you may cling to him, for he is your life and the length of your days, and that you may dwell in the land which the Lord swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give them.
God told Abraham, "I will give you all the land you see and walk upon." Abraham began his walking at Ur of the Chaldees, which is in Iraq, close to the Euphrates River. The Euphrates River begins in Turkey and flows through Syria and Iraq to the Persian Gulf. Abraham travels to Haran and then later travels to Egypt. His travels make a triangle that God describes as the land of the fathers of Israel.
Genesis 15 verse 18. On the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, "To your descendants I have given this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates." Genesis 17 verse 8. Also I give to you and your descendants after you the land in which you are a stranger, all the land of Canaan, as an everlasting possession, and I will be their God.
Notice in the map of the land, the children of Israel did not conquer and possess all the land that God promised to Abraham. The land the state of Israel claims as their own today is smaller than what they conquered and much less than what was promised to Abraham. Israel is in a constant battle with neighboring countries. On April 13, 2024, Iran launched over 300 drones and missiles at Israel. Notice in this picture the missile coming in over the Temple Mount. Wouldn't it be something if God used a Muslim nation, like Iran, to destroy the Dome of the Rock and make room for a third temple? The last Antichrist will appear during this war-torn time with a solution to bring peace to the Middle East. He will be insolent and skilled in intrigue and cunning. He will show up with all the answers, and many nations will agree to set him in a place of power. He will not come to power by his army's successful conquest, but by secrecy and plotting.
Daniel 8 verse 23. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors have reached their fullness, a king shall arise, having fierce features, who understands sinister schemes. Daniel 8 verse 23, JPS 1917. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors have completed their transgression, there shall stand up a king of fierce countenance, and understanding stratagems.
The man of sin will confirm a covenant and make a 7-year peace treaty. Notice the scripture says he confirms a covenant, not that he will make a new one. This man will come to power by promising Israel they can peacefully possess the land described in the Mosaic covenant.
Daniel 9 verses 26 to 27. And after the 62 weeks Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end of it shall be with a flood, until the end of the war desolations are determined. Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, but in the middle of the week he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering. And on the wing of abominations shall be one who makes desolate, even until the consummation, which is determined, is poured out on the desolate.
Israel's enemies will agree to the treaty for their own reasons, such as it makes economic sense to do so, or the cost of maintaining constant war is too much. The treaty will include allowing the Jews to perform sacrifices on the Temple Mount again. Part of the prophecy about the Antichrist is that he will set himself up as Christ. For the Jews to accept this person as their Messiah, he must at least appear to be a Jew. The Jews will be fooled by him for 3.5 years until he breaks the covenant and reveals the evil of who he really is.
Daniel 7 verses 24 to 25. The 10 horns are 10 kings who shall arise from this kingdom. And another shall rise after them, he shall be different from the first ones. And shall subdue 3 kings. He shall speak pompous words against the Most High. Shall persecute the saints of the Most High, and shall intend to change times and law. Then the saints shall be given into his hand for a time and times and half a time.
During this 3.5 years of peace with Israel, the Antichrist will be attacking and destroying Christians. The Jews will most likely be led to believe all those who believed in Jesus are really devil worshippers that must be eliminated for the real Messiah to take full power. Whatever means of trickery is used, God allows him power over the saints to kill them.
Daniel 8 verses 9 to 14. And out of one of them came a little horn which grew exceedingly great toward the south, toward the east, and toward the glorious land. And it grew up to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the host and some of the stars to the ground, and trampled them. He even exalted himself as high as the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifices were taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. Because of transgression, an army was given over to the horn to oppose the daily sacrifices, and he cast truth down to the ground. He did all this and prospered. Then I heard a holy one speaking, and another holy one said to that certain one who was speaking, How long will the vision be, concerning the daily sacrifices and the transgression of desolation, the giving of both the sanctuary and the host to be trampled underfoot? And he said to me, For 2,300 days, then the sanctuary shall be cleansed.
Daniel's 70 weeks began in the time of Zerubbabel around 538 BC. The 2,300 years of cleansing the sanctuary began at that time. This included the destruction of Herod's temple in 70 AD and continued through the 18th century. Martin Luther, Napoleon, the Ottoman Empire, and others helped bring about the cleansing of the temple of God by breaking the hold the Roman Empire had on the world. In 1611, the Bible was translated to English by King James. For the first time, the people could read the word for themselves and realize just how badly they had been lied to. The full Reformation began as more people pulled away from the false religions created by men.
Daniel 8 verses 23 to 25. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors have reached their fullness, a king shall arise, having fierce features, who understands sinister schemes. His power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy fearfully, and shall prosper and thrive. He shall destroy the mighty, and also the holy people. Through his cunning he shall cause deceit to prosper under his rule. And he shall exalt himself in his heart. He shall destroy many in their prosperity. He shall even rise against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without human means.
The Antichrist will have power, but that power will be given to him by other nations. He will manage to destroy the saints and later the Jews by claiming this is all done in the name of peace. In exactly the same ways Napoleon and Hitler managed to kill millions of people. By means of his crafty and cunning mind, his lie will grow, and he will magnify his own power. He will use his new power to destroy even more of God's people or those who oppose him. In the end, only Jesus will be able to destroy him.
Daniel 11 verses 36 to 39. Then the king shall do according to his own will. He shall exalt and magnify himself above every god, shall speak blasphemies against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the wrath has been accomplished, for what has been determined shall be done. He shall regard neither the God of his fathers nor the desire of women, nor regard any god, for he shall exalt himself above them all. But in their place he shall honor a god of fortresses, and a god which his fathers did not know he shall honor with gold and silver, with precious stones and pleasant things. Thus he shall act against the strongest fortresses with a foreign god, which he shall acknowledge, and advance its glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, and divide the land for gain.
Daniel 11 appears to be talking about a false god, such as Allah, but he could also be talking about Satan. Paul wrote in 2 Thessalonians that the Antichrist would exalt himself above all gods. But Daniel says that he will pay tribute to some false god and give him power to rule over people. This could mean that he will acknowledge Allah and pay the Islamic states to go along with his plans.
2 Thessalonians 2 verses 3 to 4. Let no one deceive you by any means, for that day will not come unless the falling away comes first, and the man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he sits as God in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God.
Verse 4 says he exalts himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped. Isaiah 14 describes Satan as saying, I will exalt my throne above God. Ezekiel 28 says he said, I am a god and I sit in the seat of God, but he is a man. The way the beast is described, I believe, Satan will personally possess the man who is called the beast in the last 3.5 years.
Isaiah 14 verses 13 to 15. For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation on the farthest sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, I will be like the Most High. Yet you shall be brought down to Sheol, to the lowest depths of the pit. Ezekiel 28 verses 2-5. Son of man, say to the prince of Tyre, Thus says the Lord God. Because your heart is lifted up, and you say, I am a god. I sit in the seat of gods, in the midst of the seas, yet you are a man, and not a god, though you set your heart as the heart of a god. Behold, you are wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that can be hidden from you. With your wisdom and your understanding you have gained riches for yourself, and gathered gold and silver into your treasuries. By your great wisdom in trade you have increased your riches, and your heart is lifted up because of your riches.
Notice in Isaiah 14 how many times Satan says, I will, meaning he made himself a god by choosing to do his own will and not God's will. The Antichrist will act in the same manner. The beast will be a human man who exalts himself above God. The beast will use the power of Satan and his demons to find out things he shouldn't know. Since it says no secret can be hidden from him, he gets his riches from his wisdom. This has the sound of blackmail. The beast is supposed to be able to do all kinds of miracles that he will have to use demonic power to accomplish.
2 Thessalonians 2 verses 5-12. Do you not remember that when I was still with you I told you these things? And now you know what is restraining, that he may be revealed in his own time. For the mystery of lawlessness is already at work, only he who now restrains will do so until he is taken out of the way. And then the lawless one will be revealed, whom the Lord will consume with the breath of his mouth and destroy with the brightness of his coming. The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders, and with all unrighteous deception among those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this reason God will send them strong delusion, that they should believe the lie, that they all may be condemned who did not believe the truth but had pleasure in unrighteousness.
Those who haven't loved the truth and focused their life on following the true Spirit of God will be fooled by these false miracles. I heard one man ask a question. What if an alien landed in a spaceship and told you there never was a God, it was all just us aliens on another planet, watching you guys try so hard to please us? What would you do? What would you believe? Do you think Satan can make such a thing happen? He can, and he will make something of the sort happen that will convince the weak Christians of this world there is no God but him.
Daniel 11 verses 40-45. At the time of the end the king of the south shall attack him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots, horsemen, and with many ships, and he shall enter the countries, overwhelm them, and pass through. He shall also enter the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape from his hand, Edom, Moab, and the prominent people of Ammon. He shall stretch out his hand against the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. He shall have power over the treasures of gold and silver, and over all the precious things of Egypt, also the Libyans and Ethiopians shall follow at his heels. But news from the east and the north shall trouble him, therefore he shall go out with great fury to destroy and annihilate many. And he shall plant the tents of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain, yet he shall come to his end, and no one will help him.
The beast holds the riches of Egypt, Libya, and Ethiopia, so he must have conquered them in some way, or they chose to serve him. In the end, the Antichrist will turn all the neighboring countries against him. They will turn on him and begin attacking.
What is the sign that the 70th week has started? The man of sin or the Antichrist is revealed. Which one of the 5 covenants God made with Israel was conditional on their obedience? The Mosaic covenant. During the 3.5 years of peace with Israel, the Antichrist will be attacking and destroying who? Christians. The last Antichrist will confirm a covenant and make a what? A 7-year peace treaty.